they go up to those kinds of numbers, like maybe 150 or so. So we actually can say we might even be better, like highest temperature in the world, just because it's doable easily this way. I mean, we're simplifying the system. That we're getting rid of that bellows and stuff. We're keeping everything outside. The good printers keep everything outside, keep an insulated chamber, and yeah, I mean, this is a state of art as it gets. So we don't have to be shy about that one. I don't think that's an issue. But we can do, like for infographics, we can say, oh, and these temperature ranges, we can print these materials, and you go down into the highest performance ones, which we say, oh, by the way, yeah, we can print those too. So a nice informative list, an infographic on that part, I think would be very useful. By all
Yeah, I
means.
just mean like in the goal or the goals of the contest have like the list of materials that we want the system to be able to reliably handle.
Yeah. I think we probably, because you can get, there's a lot of plastics out there, so it's like, the simple way to frame that is we want a printer that achieves this temperature and this temperature gradient throughout the chamber. So that way you say, oh, okay, if it can reach that temperature, it can do this. So you can derive that, and we can show some examples. There's too many plastics out there. I think the simple thing to say there is just the temperature range. Anyone in the know, like who cares about this and knows this, they'll be like, holy cow, that's good. So yeah, well, and the people that don't know about it, they'll, so if somebody doesn't know about it, we can say, oh yeah, well, this can print with anything, pretty much anything. I don't know if there's anything that we can't from the thermoplastics outside of things that are just not printable, period. But I don't know. I don't think that exists. I mean, then you call it a thermal set. It doesn't print, right? It just does that once. You can't melt it. If you try to melt it, it decomposes before it melts. Maybe there's some plastics that have like a very narrow, like they have this tiny window of melt, and after that, they just blow up, just decompose. Yeah, I haven't looked into too many details of that outside of knowing that some really valuable plastics, like things that you can make bearings out of, bushings for gliding, like when the big universal axes. All those kinds of things, and PEI, which is our print surface. Yeah, you'd be able to print with all of those, by all means.
If the entire body of the printed object is kept at glass point temperature inside the chamber, how does thermal contraction affect it then when the printer's cooled down?
I don't know. I mean, typically the idea is if you, as long as it's held at the same temperature, you don't have the differential. The differential is what makes the layers separate. If you keep it at the same temperature, it might shrink or whatever its thermal expansion or contraction coefficient is. But that's just like for anything. I don't know what those numbers are, but it's apparently not large because people print with plastics on a regular basis. So it's like I've never seen my PLA shrink after it cooled, for example. So it may be like tiny, but it may hardly be noticeable. For say we print like our plastic lumber, we know the thermal coefficient of expansion. Then we say, okay, we print it like 1% bigger, so it ends up at the right size or whatever. If we need those kinds of.
I've printed with ABS on a Delta printer without a heated enclosure, and it gets to be real troublesome with the thermal contraction when the print gets too high. And because of the ABS's high thermal contraction rate, print will shrink by like 5%, pull itself entirely off the bed in the corner.
Yeah, and that we're addressing by the high temperature chamber. That's exactly the thing. So when you cool it, it doesn't delaminate. Yep. Yeah. So I'm seeing Wes has got some notes on effective collaboration.